Good afternoon, everyone. It is 1:30 p.m. in Quebec City, and it is April the 26th. We're just tuning in here to just share a couple of events that I attended yesterday. One on talent intelligence and the other on cybersecurity. So the one on talent intelligence was Gartner again, very insightful, of course, as always. And the other was cybersecurity in Europe. So it was a French organization that put this one on. I'm going to share an international paper with you from that and just a few details. That was actually largely done in Belgium from a Belgian perspective. So that should be interesting to watch if you want to log on to that, which I will share the links for you. But I think the interesting pieces on this cybersecurity in Belgium, basically the same fears and concerns we've been hearing for a while now: talent shortage, the investment in cybersecurity products and programs and companies, fears of wanting to go to the United States and elsewhere in the globe, but also fearful of being taken over and their companies being purchased by U.S. companies or other companies. Other concerns: poaching talent, given that the U.S. and others may have higher salaries to offer, that they're losing their talent. So these are issues we've been hearing for a long time. I thought one thing was interesting in that I'm sure a lot of countries or people or companies experience this. They want to build global networks, yet they're fearful of going outside as they wish to use their own talent locally, such as in Belgium. So they want to utilize their own talent and not lose their talent. And so they're concerned about broadening out globally for talent for that reason. They want to utilize their talent, not lose their talent, at the same time wanting to broaden out globally, but there are some concerns that has them a bit fearful about doing that. I'm sure many others feel the same way. Another point that was raised I thought was important: the certifications in cybersecurity. There's so many certifications and there are so many expensive certifications. So it can get confusing on how, people are having to train all the time in these expensive certifications. And if people are starting their careers, of course, they may not want to go into a project management position, training course, for example, that costs $5,000 for 5 days, where they could, if they're starting their career, jump in and work with an organization, build a network of professionals close to them over a 12-month period for a much lower cost and a much easier payment schedule over the longer term, and be able to pick up some valuable training and experience at the same time, which is both academic and practical. So with that concern, they're basically leaning towards what could we possibly have that's one certification. Well, I think there is a CISO certification, that's one, but then that doesn't address all the skill sets required in cybersecurity. I would look to a Singapore model that was discussed about, I think 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, 2 to 3 years ago, maybe longer. Singapore had decided to produce grants and funding specifically for companies needing to upskill their labor force. So I think that could be a way to address those certification issues, being both expensive and so many of them, is the Singapore model, which produced grants for companies to access precisely to upskill their workforce, whether they're needing to acquire talent or retain talent or upskill their talent. Upskilling is huge, and I remember reading about Singapore taking that move, which seemed wise at the time. I think it was 300 million, maybe, or 30 to 300 million Singapore had allotted for those specific grants precisely for upskilling their workforce in cybersecurity specifically. The other concern I'll leave you with that I heard is concern about developing roles and skills required for the hiring. There's a lot of uncertainty of what is actually required, given the nature of cybersecurity changing so frequently, so drastically. So they're thinking, well, what are the skills we need? Who do we need to hire? If we are hiring for roles we don't know exist or that will exist in the future, but we're uncertain about now, how do we approach that? Again, I would lean towards the Singapore model if you wanted my opinion is that they seem to have this grant funding for upskilling. So if we're requiring skills to be If there's training required almost on a weekly, daily, monthly, yearly basis, this upskilling grant program and investing in the training seems to be reasonable, in my opinion. So that's the French Belgium cybersecurity discussion. Those are the points that I thought were important. And I will also add the link and share the link to the international paper that this lovely presentation had shared. And good luck to all of you in Belgium and elsewhere with these issues. Back to the talent intelligence by Gartner, we had a couple of speakers there, and I'll include them in the attachment. You'll be able to read everything. One is from Quebec City, the other is from the United Kingdom. And I think what was important to share there are essentially, it's actually an industry intelligence at the end of the day. But then if you break it down into the details of the data, they looked at the talent demand trends, what those were. It's good to see that in these presentations. And it's also good to see country by country. They pointed out cloud engineering is huge, cybersecurity is huge, Scrum Masters, data engineers, AI engineers, and machine learning engineers, software developers and engineers, and Python developers. And everything is up. Everything is increasing in terms of what the competitive trends are. That's important to see. You can listen to this replay. I'll add that. I don't want to bore you to tears with my analysis. They looked at three analytics across the competitive landscape to identify your largest and fastest growing companies. Again, industry intelligence. And then digging deeper, understand which roles and skills the competitors are looking for and hiring for. And you need to continue to revisit your location and your workforce strategy as it changes. It's very dynamic. Another problem we have in cybersecurity that they're talking about, how do we know what we're hiring for if the skills are, dynamic as such? So investing in training. Top in-demand occupations, getting outside of cybersecurity. We have registered nurses, obviously due to the pandemic, personal care aides, software application developers. These are the US, UK, India, and Germany, software application. Sales representatives are big, market research analysts and marketing specialists, computer systems engineers in the UK. First-line supervisors of non-retail sales workers in India is top in-demand occupation. I thought that was interesting. And then they looked at the occupations by industry and the volume and the growth. So again, this is industry intelligence. And they looked at those by the industries in the UK, India, Germany, and top in-demand skills. Programming in the United States is a top in-demand skill. Application performance, number one growth area. The UK, it's SQL and ASP.NET in the UK, SQL and software development kits in India, programming and APIs in Germany. That's interesting. And then again, broken down by industry, by volume, by growth in the banking sectors, IT, pharmaceuticals, semiconductors, and retail. You can look those up. I'll add the details there. Again, they broke those down by industry. And then they dove into the skills analysis of what, for example, a cloud engineer, they're looking for what's growing, Git, Agile, cloud solutions, what's new, manual testing, electromagnetics, emerging, Oracle SQL Plus. AWS core declining, Java, cloud infrastructure, and microservices are all declining in the cloud engineer. They did a skills analysis of the cloud engineer as well and the skill adjacencies. So you can take a look at that. They did a nice map out of that there, a nice diagram. Again, the competitive landscape is, again, industry intelligence and then digging into the roles and the skills. And thirdly, revisiting your workforce strategy. They talked about what's existing in emerging hubs in the IT overall across the globe. And there's a bubble map here. You can take a look at talent scores. You'll see this in the presentation that I'm attaching. And then what employers are hiring for critical talent, and where the location of the talent is. And they've also included salaries, estimated salaries in what nation, and then what's critical. Where and how are employers hiring for critical talent? Fully remote, temporary remote, or hybrid. I assume there's a combination of all. Again, the three steps, analyzing that competitive intelligence, industry intelligence. And the one big figure they continue to use is 83% of organizations increased investment in digital capabilities in 2021. Data mining, for example, has been very hot for the last 10 to 12 years, data miners online. And that is leading to increased jobs needing threat hunting in cybersecurity, for instance. That's not in the presentation, but in terms of digital intelligence and digital investment, you want to think about data mining when it comes to cybersecurity and threat intelligence. I just brings to mind those types of things for me, and how their clients are using the talent intelligence to address multiple priorities, how they're leveraging the market, the labor market, and those types of things. Digital transformation, hybrid workforce and location strategies, attracting, sourcing, and retaining talent, diversity, equity, and inclusion strategies. Those are the top 4 transforming HR talent intelligence. So that's it for me on these topics. I didn't want to go on and on because I can include the videos for you to watch if you would like to have a recap of all of that. I'll include the video link, the PDF file of the presentation, and also a link to the International Cybersecurity paper for you. And thank you very much. I do appreciate you tuning in, and let me know what your thoughts are. Anything else I can be helpful with, I'd be happy to share. Thank you very much, and have a most excellent day. And we'll speak again soon. Thank you.